Buddha's Delight, or Luo Han Zhai, is one of the most well-known vegetarian dishes on the planet, and befitting a dish that stretches over centuries and continents, there's a mountain of variation as to what a Buddha's Delight is. Today, we want to teach you our favorite, which is a Cantonese restaurant version served over crispy noodles. But, an important distinction, not the fancy old-school Cantonese banquet sort, which is kind of its own thing. You see, broadly speaking, the Chinese vegetarian tradition can be split into three main categories. First, you have the Minjian Cu Cai, or the people's vegetarian food, which is basically just whatever the local cuisine is, minus the meat. An example of a Minjian dish would be something like Sichuanese Weijing Su Mian, or MSG vegetarian noodles, which is more or less a dandan minus a topping. Second, you have Gongting Su Cai, or the court vegetarian food, which was designed for Buddhists and Buddhist rituals in, well, the imperial court. Dishes descended from this tradition lean heavily into intricately prepared mock meats that, I think, put impossible meats to shame. Stuff like vegetarian roast goose, vegetarian abalone, so on and so forth. And finally, you have the Siyan Jai Cai, or the temple vegetarian food, which was the domain of monks and the stricter Buddhists. These dishes were often lighter and plainer than the court vegetarian food, kind of more ideological than culinary, though some could also get quite intricate as well. So Buddha's Delight is actually descended from this final category with a bit of a twist. See, while you can find similarly named dishes stretching all the way back to the Song dynasty, what much of the world would recognize today as Buddha's Delight likely originated in the 1930s from a restaurant in Guangzhou hosted by the neighboring Temple of Six Banyan Trees. In that restaurant, their Buddha's Delight was apparently a real showstopper that they prepared for the wealthy patrons of the temple. Their Buddha's Delight featured 18 components to represent the concept of the 18 Luo Hans of Buddhism. They included 3 types of mushrooms: dried shiitake mushrooms, of course, dried straw mushrooms, which are actually kind of hard to find even in Guangdong nowadays, button mushrooms specifically picked from the grasslands of Inner Mongolia, 9 types of shoots: carrots, easy enough; wosun, a.k.a. celtis, also easy enough; the tender hearts of some choysums; some ginger shoots, which aren't really eaten that much anymore; dongsun, winter bamboo shoot, not summer bamboo shoot; diaosusun, a summer bamboo shoot, not a winter bamboo shoot that's solely grown in the Samyup section of the Pearl River Delta; maosun, or hairy bamboo shoot, which is specifically from the moso bamboo plant; bisun, which we still can't really pinpoint, but we think is a bamboo shoot grown in high-altitude Sichuan; judusun, which totally stumped us; and 6 types of fungus: wood ear, easy enough; snow ear, also easy enough; yellow ear, which is kind of like snow ear, but harder to find; yuar, elm fungus, a fungus that only grows on the trunks of the Siberian elm tree in northeast China and Hokkaido, Japan; guihuar, osmanthus ear, a jelly fungus that grows many places but needs to be foraged; and yenar, rock ear, which is actually a lichen that needs to be handpicked from high cliffs. So, I think you'll probably forgive us for not going that route. But of those 18, we will be opting for 2 of the fungus and 2 of the mushrooms. Muar, wood ear fungus slash mushroom; shear, snow fungus; dried shiitake mushrooms, of course, and also some button mushrooms, though you'll have to forgive us for not foraging for them in the grasslands of Inner Mongolia. So, shear, or snow fungus, up first, because this one might be a little new to some of you in the room. Like wood ear, it's got a real nice snap to it, but it also ends up a little fluffier and softer after some longer cooking, which makes it a popular choice in stuff like Cantonese tong sui. Here, we're reaching for 5 grams worth, mostly to give a diversity of color and texture to the final dish. So while it's pretty available abroad as well, you could also swap it for extra wood ear if you needed. Either way, just soak both of those in cool water overnight. Then, in a separate bowl, also grab 20 grams worth of dried shiitake mushrooms, and also soak those overnight as well. Now, besides those 3 components, a lot of restaurant Buddha's Delight also seems to lean pretty heavily on vegetarian stock. So what we'll be doing is whipping up something hyper simple that's just shiitake based, but if you're in the market for a more intense Chinese vegetarian stock, do check out our video on the topic up here. So, in addition to the shiitake that we just soaked, we'll also separately soak another 15 grams worth for a stock. And together with that, we'll also round things out with a bit of dried kelp, 8 grams worth, also soaked. So then, next day, give your kelp a real thorough wash to get off any potential sand, ditto with the mushrooms. And now we can first whip up our quick soup. So, to a pot, just toss in those mushrooms together with their soaking liquid, also together with your rinsed kelp. Add in a liter of water, bring it all up to a boil, then down to a simmer. Give it a quick skim, and let that simmer covered for 30 minutes. And while that's cooking, let's prep everything else. First up, thoroughly squeeze that initial bowl's worth of shiitake mushrooms and definitely reserve their soaking liquid. Then snip and toss the stems and slice the rest into about half-centimeter sheets. Next, you'll probably notice that your snow fungus has got this obvious tough root to it, so just slice that off, give it a toss as well, and slice the remaining bit into about 8 even sections. Woodier, also being a fungus, will also have a similar sort of hard root, so cut that off as well and slice the remainder into about 2 to 3 even pieces. Then, for our final foray into the fungus kingdom, the button mushroom, just slice those into a similar thickness as the shiitakes. Then, besides those, again, the essence of this dish is its diversity of textures. So while you could go any number of routes, to ours, we'll add in 60 grams of carrot, peeled, sliced into 3mm wide sheets. Baby corn, again 60 grams worth, sliced into 1cm sections along a biased wedge. And a final 60 grams of baby bok choy, these guys sliced into 1.5-inch sections. After that, all those things that we just chopped up, minus the shiitake, are all going to need a quick blanch at first. So, to some bubbling water, toss in the bok choy for a 30-second blanch, then remove, then the carrot and the corn for a 1-minute blanch, then the button mushrooms also for 1 minute, and finally our fungi, those guys for 2 minutes. And now we can make our Buddha's delight. So then, to make the thing, first just toss 2 tablespoons of peanut oil to a pot and give it a swirl over a medium-low flame. Then, to that, toss in an inch worth of minced ginger and fry that till fragrant, about 30 seconds. Then go in with the shiitake and up the flame to high. Fry that for about a minute. Then swirl in a tablespoon of Liao a.k.a. Shaoxing wine over your spatula and around the sides of the wok. Brief mix, then go in with the 2 fungi, another 30 seconds, then in with 2 cups of the quick stock that we just made. Brief mix, then go in with 2 tablespoons of another essential Cantonese vegetarian ingredient, oyster sauce. Now, for the vegetarians watching, I know. Oysters, phylum Mollusca, kingdom Animalia. But, traditionally at least, a lot of Buddhist vegetarians in coastal South China were actually Austro-vegetarians and allowed that exception. If you want to learn more about how they squared that knot, you can check out Steph chatting about the history up here. But tradition aside, a vegetarian oyster sauce would also totally work just the same. Then just cover and simmer that for 15 minutes. After that time then, toss in the remaining vegetables minus the bok choy and simmer those for another 5 minutes, also covered. Then go in with the bok choy and after another quick mix, toss in your seasoning. 1/4 teaspoon salt, 1/8 teaspoon MSG, 1/8 teaspoon white pepper, another quick mix, and then we can thicken. This was just 1 tablespoon of starch, preferably potato starch, mixed in with 2 tablespoons of the shiitake soaking liquid from before. Just drizzle that in bit by bit over a low flame until it's reached your desired thickness, which for us is a shade before spoon coating consistency. Then drizzle in a teaspoon of toasted sesame oil, quick mix, and out. Now again, for us, what we like to do with our Buddha's Delight is eat it over noodles. Trust, it's pretty good. But from a restaurant perspective, much more common to see with this dish is serving over crunchy fried boiled noodles. So let's just show you how to do that too, just in case you also want to go that extra mile. To make them, just boil 60 grams of dried noodles until they're done. Then remove and toss them into a strainer. Then, you want to cool those down, not by shocking them with water like you might be used to, but rather by lifting and jostling the noodles with a pair of chopsticks. This helps ensure a looser, more pleasing texture in your final product. Then, to fry, get about 1.5 cups worth of oil up to 180 centigrade and slide in your noodles. It'll quickly bubble up in a really satisfying way. So then just fry that for about 4 minutes, flipping halfway through till you get something good and golden brown, like so. Then, to those, just smother over all of your vegetables, and with that, you've got some Cantonese restaurant-style Buddha's Delight.
So Buddha's Delight, if you want to make it extra homey, you can even skip the vegetarian stock and just use mushroom soaking liquid. It will also be great. And if you can't find some of the ingredients like snow ear or wood ear, you can just use the idea of Buddha's Delights. Just cook whatever vegetarian ingredients that you can get together and turn it into something tasty. So right, check out the recipe in the description box. A big thank you for everyone that's supporting us on Patreon, and of course, subscribe for more Chinese cooking videos.